The biggest sporting spectacle in the world is currently underway in France, in Paris. Yes, the Olympics are on. India's still not on the medals tally yet. I know this is a cricket show and cricket's not a part of this Olympics, but it is going to be part of the next Olympics. So we already started looking forward to that event with a lot more interest because of the fact that for the first time cricket's going to be introduced in there. Um, India have not yet made added anything to their medals tally, but one person who has made an addition to his winning tally is India's coach Gautam Gambhir, starting off with an absolute fantastic win in the first T20 versus Sri Lanka. Sarvesh, we saw the press conference that Ajit Agarkar and Gautam Gambhir both had before the team left for Sri Lanka. Um, Good press conference, gave a lot of insights into the team selections and a lot of answers to that were being raised in the media. Your thoughts on that press conference?
I think it was. I think it was needed. We haven't seen such press conferences in the past. We do see press conferences from time to time, but I think this was pretty brief, and they actually addressed a lot of questions that all of us had. And the main question was why Suryakumar Yadav and not Hardik Pandya. I think they answered it pretty well. I think they tried to give a proper reasoning to that. I think the first reason that they gave is that we all know about Hardik Pandya's fitness and his availability, his workload. I mean, these things we expected. We expected these things to be valid factors, and he has mentioned that okay, these are the factors. But also he has mentioned that Surya Kumar Yadav, he also deserves it. I mean, he has been playing T20 cricket, in top gear for almost last three years now, and I think he's again. He's somebody who was getting groomed at Mumbai Indians as well. He has that caliber, as we have seen, and now again he's expected to play all the T20 matches. And Hardik Pandya may not be able to play those matches because he's still a key player in the ODI setup as well, and he hasn't retired from Test as well. So who knows? So I think the key takeaways are that Hardik Pandya is going to be playing in all the formats, whereas Surya Kumar Yadav will be focused on one format. And they have also mentioned that why he was not considered for the ODI tour. I mean, that's again, they didn't have to mention that because when Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul they were announced in that squad, we sort of knew that Suryakumar Yadav was not going to make it. But they said that currently they are ahead of Suryakumar Yadav, so that is why he was not considered for ODI format. So that means Suryakumar will play all the T20 matches. So I think that is again a very good factor. So they have mentioned all these things. We discussed last week that Surya may not play in the Champions Trophy, which will be happening next year because we do not have plenty of games before ODIs to experiment. And I think with Pant back, with Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul playing so well, that top five, it looks like it is pretty stacked up. So I think there are at least six players competing for the top five spots, and Suryakumar is not there right now. He has slightly fallen behind. So I think all these things they have just added up, and they have given a proper reasoning that is why Suryakumar Yadav is preferred. And I think, in my opinion, that this sounds pretty fair to me.
Yes, it was good reasoning. Apart from that, they also spoke about Jadeja's exclusion. They explained that he's not been dropped; he's actually been rested. They also said that taking two left-arm spinners to Sri Lanka, it's unlikely that both of them would have played, considering that they have Hardik Pandya there as the second all-rounder as well. Um, as we mentioned, they spoke about Shami's possible return in September in the New Zealand Test. They gave their thoughts on Rohit and Virat, and they said that if they're fit enough, and if the desire and the hunger remains, then they could very well play for another ODI World Cup for India in 2027. So lots of good information. I guess the only one thing I was a bit disappointed in, and it's also the fact that the question wasn't asked probably, was one of Yuzvendra Chahal. I don't think anybody actually specifically asked that question, and I don't think they kind of addressed it. It was asked as a group question wherein people said, "Oh, why have some people been dropped?" But I don't think they actually asked Yuzi's specific case wherein someone who was taken to the World Cup, didn't play a single game, came back, got dropped from the side. So yeah, just that was the probably the only unanswered question for me from that. Your thoughts on that?
I think, I mean, people have sort of assumed that they have drawn a line where they would prefer somebody like a Ravi Bishnoi ahead of Yuzi Chahal. I think this is the underlying meaning that people have taken from this, and I think
Yeah.
that is why nobody is asking that question, because we sort of know that Chahal is now in closing to, he's about 32, 33, and we sort of have to give chances to Bishnoi. So that, I think that's the only reason.
Okay. Well, fair enough. On the back of that press conference, India has played their first game against Sri Lanka, and what a fantastic victory! Batting first, putting on 213 for 7 in their 20 overs. Surya Kumar Yadav, new captain, leading from the front with a typical innings with lots of shots behind the wicket rather than in front of the wicket. Rishabh Pant carrying his good from that World Cup with some runs and a good start at the beginning by this new pair, Yashasvi Jaiswal and Shubman Gill. We saw them open together in Zimbabwe, just carrying on that form from there and delivering the goods. Sri Lanka in the end falling well short by 43 runs. Um, I watched the game last night, and just a couple of insights were that India at one stage looked like they would get a lot more than 213, but ended up getting less. Sri Lanka at one stage looked like they were in a great position to chase it down, but then lost 9 wickets for 30 runs in the end. So yeah, both teams started well, looked set, and then didn't finish where they thought they would finish.
Yes, absolutely. The start that we had with Jaiswal and Shubman Gill, and then the Surya Kumar Yadav's inning at number 3. I think we added only about 63 runs from last 41 deliveries. So I think that tells you that this was a sort of an underwhelming finish. I think we should have finished somewhere close to 225 at least, the way we were going at the top. But I think this can happen because that middle order is still newish, and nobody at the end they got a real chance to get in, get in and play a few deliveries, because they were coming in and they were looking to play those shots. So I think that happened in the end. And Rishabh Pant, I felt he was really stuck at the beginning, till that
Yes.
over where he got that full toss, and where he sort of, where the floodgates sort of opened. He smashed 1 for 6, and then he sort of recovered from there. And now his strike rate is, it looks like it is around 150. But at one point he was struggling. So I think he recovered well in the end. And then in the end, I think we sort of had a few cameos. People coming in, smashing a couple of fours, and then getting this. I mean, that was the kind of end that we got. But I think in the end we got to 213. And you rightly mentioned that Sri Lanka, even they got to a very good start. At one point they were 111 for 1 after 11 overs. So I think I felt they were pretty in, and they had plenty of firepower to come in. So I think that Akshar Patel over sort of swung it in our favor, and then the finishing touches were given by Riyan Parag. Now that's Riyan Parag bowling his second over towards the back end. He got 3 wickets, and he bowled his first over in the 17th over of the innings. I think we had, I mean, this was getting discussed, that why he was bowling his first over in the 17th over of the innings. But I think in the end, he in the post match interviews, he sort of explained that he was sort of getting prepared to bowl in this region. He said that he was asked to prepare, so that if it can happen that he would bowl in the later phases, and so that he had to sort of prepare mentally, and he had to figure out his lines, where to bowl at. So I think he sort of had his homework done. So I think that came in pretty handy. So 3 wickets for Fire. I think it looks very good on paper. Even those wickets were of tailenders. I think wicket is a wicket, and I think he bowled pretty well at the back end. And we know sort of that. Even Surya Kumar Yadav mentioned is that he would take it any day if his top six, one of his top six batters come in and bowl that Titchki. He mentioned that word, Titchki ball, the carom ball. So he is that kind of a bowler who can do that. He can bowl those flickers, bowl googlies, and sort of that he has that mystery element to his name. So I think, yeah, he has done well.
Is probably a better bowler than my good friend Kedar Jadhav from who used to also have a similar action. But I think Riyan Parag might be a slightly better bowler than that for the conditions. I was very impressed with Pathirana as well, because he was, I mean, 4 for 40 from 4 overs. If you look at those figures, you think, oh, he's been expensive, but he really was the difference as to why India finished with a total of 213 rather than a total of maybe 230. Some beautiful Yorkers swinging late, and yeah, he looked very impressive to me. Just carrying his form again. He was good in the IPL, and he's just carrying his form.
Yes, his first over was expensive. I think Surya took him for cleaners. He had gone for somewhere around 15, 16 in his first over, and then he sort of made his comeback. Then he dismissed Surya after getting hit for four a boundary on the first ball, and then he sort of managed to control the run rate, and then he got the critical wickets at the back, and he even got Riyan Parak at the end. So I think it was a good recovery, like you said, and that is what Sri Lanka expects him to do on a regular basis because he's that kind of a bowler. We have seen him doing similar things at CSK as well. So I think we might see him do this regularly in future.
And not to forget, all the Sri Lanka players are coming off the Lanka Premier League, fresh off it.
Yeah.
So in good T20 form, used to the conditions at home, and yeah, so should be an exciting series. Two matches to go. The second one tonight. But while we are talking about international games of cricket in Sri Lanka, there is another one which has just got underway. It is the final of the Asia Cup between India and Sri Lanka. Now, this is the scorecard from India's semi-final win against Zimbabwe. As you can see, India making light work of it, um, restricting Bangladesh to 80 for 8 in their 20 overs, and then reaching the target in the 11th over without losing a single wicket, just showing India's dominance. But it's been that kind of a tournament where two teams have dominated their groups. India dominating their group, Sri Lanka dominating their group, and then in the semi-finals also, India winning comfortably, Sri Lanka scraping through against
Yeah.
Pakistan, getting a narrow win.
Yeah.
So all set for a good final.
Absolutely. Final on a Sunday, I think it's always good for viewership. And these two teams, like you mentioned, they were the top teams from both the groups. And the way Sri Lanka defeated Pakistan in that semi-final, I think at one stage it was looking pretty tight. And then uh, I think it was they needed somewhere around 35 runs from 27 deliveries, and I think Pakistan were just getting in that game. Then they hit 1-6. I think Chamari hit that six, and I think after that they sort of came back in the game, and then they never let it go. So I think Sri Lanka. I mean, the semi-final was pretty close, like you said. It was a good match, and I think now the big match between India and Sri Lanka. I'm hoping for a positive returns for India.
Yeah, as we speak, it's 35 for no loss for India after 5 overs. Smriti Mandana, Shefali Verma, they've done it for India all tournament, still carrying that good form. But whenever I think of Sri Lankan cricket, on Sri Lankan women's cricket in particular, one name stands tall above everyone else, Chamari Atapattu. She's going to be the difference between,
Yeah.
uh, you get Chamari and you probably get Sri Lanka
Yeah.
because she carries that team on her shoulders, doesn't she?
Absolutely. I mean that is a very critical wicket, and I mean, she realizes that the importance of her wicket. So I think that has been her. She has basically elevated her level in the last few years, mainly because she understands that now she is the leading leading player of their team. So I think let's see what happens today.
Absolutely. Moving on, what are we going to discuss next?
So now the list that you are seeing on your screen is of highest test run scorers, and Joe Root has just crossed Brian Lara, and he has even reached 12,000 test runs. So Joe Root is now, I think, seventh on that list. Yeah, he's like just behind
Yep.
Kumar Sangakkara. He has crossed Brian Lara, and he's just about how many 450 runs short of Alistair Cook. Sir Alistair Cook, I should say. So Alistair Cook is the leading run scorer for England, and Joe Root he has played
450 runs behind him. Yeah.
absolutely, and he has played how many 18 less Test matches, and he is almost about there. So I think Joe Root is doing a fantastic job right now. I think you could see him climbing climbing this chart, probably second, first, maybe first. So I think he's going to be there in probably in top three in my opinion. What do you think, Rahul?
He's about 4,000 runs away from Tendulkar at the moment.
Yeah,
So I will reserve my comments about that one, but I
yeah,
definitely see him getting above Ricky Ponting's 13,378 because that's just about 1,400 runs away.
yeah,
And that's a couple of seasons for him of
yeah,
cricket,
yeah.
which I think he definitely has in him. So yeah, I'd expect him to get to second, but again, it comes whether he's got the hunger, whether he's got the desire, whether he's got the longevity, and he remains injury free. Which Joe Root actually throughout his career, I think he has remained. He's a
Injury
fit
free. Yeah,
bloke. He doesn't get injured very often. So in that sense, and he doesn't play all three formats.
yeah,
So he only plays Test cricket and ODI cricket, which means he's got a bit of breaks in between when England does play T20 cricket.
yeah.
So yeah, I think he'll go to second, but yeah, I
Same. Yeah.
think uh,
Even I'm
he,
expecting him to be there in top three. Second is probably the ideal position for him because you would expect him to reach to 13 and a half, 14,000 runs. I mean, we have seen this pattern in the past where we felt that some players would go there, would reach that stage, but just like Alistair Cook, I personally felt that he would go closer to 14,000 runs, but I think that did not happen. He saw. I don't know what happened there. I mean, he sort of when he announced his retirement, I was pretty shocked that he has announced it. Similarly, I mean, it is very difficult to predict at this stage because once players are closing to that 34, 35 mark, I think you never know what is going to happen. So we have seen some players declining at a rapid pace once they near that 34, 35 mark. So once they are 34 years old, 35 years old, so it's very difficult to predict. But I think Joe Root is still about 33, 34. I mean, probably plenty of years of cricket left in him. So let's see where he reaches. I would love to know the reactions of the viewers as well. What do you think? Where would Joe Root reach? Let us know in the comments.
and absolutely also not to forget when you look at Callis's 13,000 runs, you also never forget that he took about what 380 odd
Yeah,
Test wickets,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
which is just phenomenal.
Yeah,
So yeah, uh, route to finish second, and yeah, let us know what you think, guys. Because yeah, give us your feedback and tell us where you think he'd finish and where you think some of those other
yeah,
current players. Because we've got Steve Smith there at 9,685, Virat Kohli is at 8,848. Given up T20 internationals now, so gets more of a chance to focus on Test and ODI cricket. Missed a 5-match series against England recently, which could have added a few more runs to him. But yeah, let us know what you all think.
yeah. These are the four
Um,
cricketers which are active right now, and I think the only cricketer in top 50 apart from these four who's active is Angelo Matthews. So he's also closing. He's also almost 7,600 runs. He has also scored. He's closing on 8,000. So I think even he can add a few runs. He can even reach 8,000. And even once he reaches 8,000, I think there are a lot of names that he can cross realistically. So I think yeah, even he is. I think he should be. He should be. It should be an interesting phase for Angelo Matthews as well.
Absolutely. We've got from England. Are we going straight to America to discuss
Yes.
Major League Cricket now? Yes. Now I have to put a disclaimer on this because I haven't been watching a lot of Major League Cricket, but Sarvesh, who is an absolute gun on anything cricket related, watches every game of cricket that is played under the planet. Sarvesh, you've been following this and you've got some interesting thoughts and views on this tournament.
Yes. So last year, as we all know, MI New York they won this tournament, and it was sort of expected that they would be there in top four this season as well, but they had a pretty rough period this time. I mean, there are only 7 matches in league stages in Major League Cricket. So what happens is you play only 7 matches. So ideally, if you play 2 matches against each and every opponent, you should ideally play 10 matches, but it doesn't happen like that. So it's a hybrid sort of a format, similar to what we have in IPL, where we play where we don't play twice against all the teams. Sometimes we play only once against some of the opponents. So I think similar pattern is here as well. The thing that I noticed that out of 6 teams, after group stages, only 2 teams are eliminated. MI had a very rough start. They won their opening game, then they sort of had a very rough middle portion of the tournament where they couldn't win a single game, but they still managed to qualify because 4 out of 6 teams are anyway going to qualify. So I think they sort of won that they won their last game against Los Angeles Knight Riders, and they qualified for top four. But there they had to play against TSK, Texas Super Kings, and I think in that game they sort of outplayed MI New York again. I mean, it was expected because TSK was having a sort of a better season than MI New York, so they defeated MI New York. MI New York they were eliminated, and at the top, now we have two teams, Washington Freedom and San Francisco Unicorn. So I think these two teams, they sort of played. I mean, I don't think some of the players in those teams. I was not expecting them to play like this. For example, Steven Smith. I mean, the kind of season that he's having right now. I will probably quickly go to some of the batting stats. He's there at number 5. He has scored around almost 250 runs from 8 innings, 8 matches, and his strike rate is good. His average is good. He has hit his 15 sixes. So I didn't expect that. We expected Travis Head, I know, and some of the players like Faf du Plessis. Faf did not have a great tournament last year, but again this year is making a good comeback in MLC. So I think these players, they had a pretty good tournament. Even Conway, he wasn't playing in he didn't play in IPL. So I think it was also sort of a comeback tournament for him as well. So he did again a superb job for TSK. But Smith, I think it was we would probably see him play a lot in some of the T20 leagues. So I think he has done a good job. And then some of the players that I would like to mention who are eligible to play for USA. I think Joshua Tromp has impressed me the most. And then there is Hassan Khan, and there is one guy called Richards. He played from MINY, and there's one more player. I'm forgetting his name, but I think even he was a part of TSK. I think he even had a very good tournament. So I think there are some promising youngsters to come from for USA. Even in bowling, you will see Hassan Khan is there in the wicket takers as well. So I think these guys, and again at the top, let's not forget Saurabh Netravalkar. He didn't play all the matches, but Netravalkar, I think again he had a very good tournament, 14 wickets from 6 matches, very good economy, and sort of he had a top season once again. So I think, yeah, I mean, we expected some of these players to put this kind of performances, but there are some surprise names there. I think, yeah, this is how it looks.
From the New Zealand point of view, obviously Conway and Finn Allen in the runs, and Lockie Ferguson and Rachin Ravindra in the wickets there. So
Yeah.
good to see that.
Yeah.
I've got two questions for you though. The first one is with regards to the teams. If we go back to that slide that you showed me with regard the table, which was yeah. So from the names of the team, the Texas Super Kings, you know that they're owned by the Chennai franchise. MI New York, obviously owned by the Mumbai Indians. Los Angeles Knight Riders, owned by KKR. Can you tell me who is the owner of the Washington Freedom, San Francisco Unicorns, and the Seattle Ockers? Are they new
Uh,
owners or
yeah,
are they the
yes,
same franchise owners?
they are new owners. I mean, we haven't seen them owning other teams in other leagues. So I think if you talk
Right.
about pure legacy IPL teams, then there are 3 teams out of these 6 teams, and I think we can expect a few more teams to come up, because I think now the status of these T20 games has changed. I think they have got the first class status. So I think we will see a couple of teams getting added. And now the point that I mentioned, that 4 out of 6 teams are getting qualified, which is fine. But I think, uh, in my opinion, at least 50% of the team should be eliminated after group stages. But I think when you consider the fact that there might be other teams getting added to this roster, so I think we could see 8 teams in future. So I think considering that in mind, now I think this format makes a lot of sense. I'm expecting a couple of
Yeah.
teams to feature, new teams to feature now.
Last but not the least, my question to you on that bowling chart. We saw the name one name of Saurabh Netravalkar leading the bowling chart here. He was very impressive in that T20 World Cup as well. Is there a chance for Saurabh Netravalkar to feature in IPL 2025? Do you think he can come into the auction, and do you think some team might bid for him?
I think it can happen. See, I mean, when you look at his bowling, you know that swing is his strength, and but even if you leave that aside, he is very accurate, and the kind of lines that he bowls towards the back end, I think that sort of tells you that he doesn't have that pace. He will bowl in 120, late 120s, probably in early 130s, but that's I mean, he uses his lines, there's those variations pretty well. So I think we could see him playing in IPL. I mean, it's I mean, to be honest, to me it looks like he's playing at his peak right now. So I think, who knows, it can happen. It can very well happen this season.
I guess it might depend whether Oracle decide to give him 2 months off to take part in the IPL if he does get selected in that auction. But yeah, as we were discussing before the show, he might just have to take a sabbatical
Yeah.
from work for 2 months if he has to do that, or just apply for long service leave or something like that. I'm sure there is some provision in the contract there, or lifestyle leave or long service leave or something like that, and come and play in the IPL.
It can happen.
Um,
It can happen because as we all know, he left Mumbai in I think 2013. I think somewhere around that. He has played one game. He has played some matches for Mumbai as well in domestic cricket, even Ranji matches. He he's very good mates with Surya Kumar Yadav. So who knows? Maybe Surya Kumar Yadav captaining Mumbai and then Saurabh Netrawalkar coming back to Mumbai, playing for Mumbai Indians in IPL. I mean, who knows? It can happen.
Are you trying to say that there's a chance Surya Kumar Yadav is going to be captain of Mumbai
It's
Indians in 2025?
it is
We might
possible.
start a riot on this channel if we go and say that's going to happen, but who knows?
It is possible. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
anything is possible. Well, if we are on the topic of the IPL,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, before
we
that,
have
I
some.
would just finish with this that the Washington Freedom and San Francisco Unicorns, they will be playing in the finals later today. It will start somewhere around like in about 7 to 8 hours. So Sunday evening for USA. I think it will start, and I think yeah, these two teams, top two teams, will fight for the title. And I think it's always a good sign when the top two teams play in the final. So yeah, these two teams will play in the final.
Perfect. And that's a good introduction into our next topic for this week, which is that the BCCI has finally set a date to catch up with all the IPL team owners and to discuss mainly three things. They want to know what their thoughts are on player retentions, they want to know what their thoughts are on the right to match cards, and they want to know what their thoughts are on the salary caps. Now, Sarvesh, I know you've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of research into all of this. What can we expect in this meeting, and what do you think will be the nature of the whole retention, salary cap, right to match cards, etc. This time around?
I think they will. We we will have a we will have some idea about the number of retentions for sure. I think that is going to be. I mean, I expect them to come out with that number. Right now, there are some rumors. As per those rumors, we will see around 5 to 6 retentions. So teams will be able to retain 5 to 6 players. And what I'm hearing right now is that teams are not so keen on right to match the RTMs. The RTM what because what has been happening is that with those RTM cards, what is happening is sometimes the other teams are using that to their advantage to inflate some of the players, because if you know that some team is going to retain that some player and they are going to use the RTM card on that player, then somebody might come up and they would just think that okay, let's inflate this player because we know that they are anyways going to RTM on him. So I think in my opinion this is what has been happening. This has been getting discussed behind the doors. So we may not see RTM cards uh, getting used in this auction as well. Now, last time, let me remind everyone that last time we did not see any RTM cards, and one of the key reasons for that was that because we had two new teams. So those two teams, they didn't have any players to retain. They didn't have any players to use their RTM cards on. So it made a lot of sense to not give teams those RTM cards. But right now in this auction, they have that option of giving the RTM cards. But I think it looks like they may not give that because of the reasons I just mentioned. And if that is not happening, then I think the number of retentions, that number will automatically go up because now you don't have the RTM card.
But from a player's point of view, isn't it better to have that? Because I look at someone like a Rinku Singh, who's been with KKR for the last 3 or 4 years, and he's been at that base price of 50 lakhs or something like that.
Yeah,
Where if he
55
does
lakhs.
go
Yeah.
into the auction, he will fetch a tremendously high price compared to what. And so, from his point of view, I think he'd want that RTM because he wants to know what his worth is in the market today, and for KKR to match him. I mean, the other side of it could be that KKR decide to retain him and then retain him as their number one or number two or number three pick, which then would anyway give him more money than what he's currently on. But yeah, from a player's point of view, I think they'd rather have the RTM, especially if you're performing well and if you're a player who's in demand.
I mean, I look at RTM as like in financial markets, you have a term called fair value. Value. So fair value for player is basically if somebody is ready to sell their asset for one price, and then the opposition party, that opposite party, if that party is ready to buy that asset for that price, then that becomes the fair price for that asset. So I think RTM sort of does that for the players. They, because the value of any player is determined by the market, and the market is determined by by supply and demand and a lot of other things. So I think you rightly said that RTMs can help players to get sold for their fair value, which is which is the market value. So I think
Yep.
in that perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense. But I think from team's point of view, their dynamics
The
sort of they
retention.
exactly. I mean, it doesn't fit well for them. So I think we have to find a right balance between what suits for the teams and then what suits for players. Now, you said that you gave a very practical example in Rinku Singh, because he was
Yep.
bought for 55 lakhs in that auction, in the last mega
Yep.
auction, and his current worth is easily close to 13, 14, probably somewhere around that. So now there's one more thing that I have been reading is that teams have, now we know that the mega auction happens in every mega auction happens after every third year. So now we just 3 years, 3 years of last mega auction cycle, they just ended. So now we are again going to have that mega auction. But it is being said that teams have requested BCCI that okay, we don't want mega auctions to happen after every 3 years. We would probably hope we would probably prefer if that happens after every 5 years, but 5 years, because what happens is you get to groom a lot of players in that period, and then you also get, because in a 10 team tournament you need to have your own, you need to create your own players. You can't just rely on the proven and trusted players. You have to manufacture your own players as well, and I think that is also good for Indian cricket as well as world cricket. So I think they have sort of indicated that they would hope that this auction cycle gets slightly stretched to 5 years. So this is one point. And now, if this happens, if it gets stretched to 5 years, then you don't want to punish players. Now imagine last mega auction Rinku went for 55 lakhs. Now imagine that if this cycle was of 5 years, then for 5 years he will play at the same price. So now one more thing
Yep.
that I have been reading is that teams have requested that to BCCI that allow them to renegotiate their contracts with their players. So now, for example, KKR would basically negotiate with Rinku saying that okay, you deserve a lot more. So after first year, they would probably go to him and they would renegotiate the contract. And let's say they release somebody who is not performing for, and he was sitting on their books for 10 crores. Let's say they release that player, and then they relocate that figure of 10 crores to Rinku Singh. So even this is a good option. So I think I am reading that this can also happen if this cycle gets stretched. There is no confirmation that this would happen, but I think again, this if this happens, then it's a very good, it will be very good sign for the players, because now uh, they can basically fetch those market values in between those mega auction cycles. So I think it is also a good move if this happens.
Yeah, I guess the only reason people don't like I mean, they don't want the salary cap to be increased and have renegotiation during the cycle is then there is a chance that it can become the rule of the mighty. So basically, the richest team owner can have the best players and the best team, which has happened in other leagues. We've seen that in soccer leagues that the rich football teams would go and buy the best players and put them all together
Yeah,
and
but
create the best team.
the only
Yeah,
difference here is that if they allow to if they basically renegotiate the contract, then that added sum will basically get deducted from their auction kitty. So I think
yeah,
this is where
yeah,
the difference lies, and I think this would, if this happens, it would be fair.
yeah. Fair enough. Oh well, not long to go. So it's on the 30th or the 31st of July. So all those answers will have some questions at least answered by that date, hopefully, and we'll see what is going to happen for this next mega auction. It'll be interesting because at the end of the day, you want to preserve the brand identity of your franchise, and some players have, they have become the brand identity of the franchise. We look at CSK and we think of Mahendra Singh Dhoni. We look at RCB, we think of Virat Kohli, we think of MI, we think of Rohit Sharma. So everybody wants to kind of they've spent a lot of money creating that brand image and they want to preserve it for much longer. So yeah, makes a lot of sense. Anything else that we have left to discuss on the agenda today?
Not much, but I would love to know the reactions of the viewers on the number of retentions, because this has been the hot topic for last couple of weeks. So what I'm hearing that they could allow 5 to 6 retentions, but I would love to know what the viewers thinks. What the viewers think. So I think you can comment. You can let us know what do you think about the ideal number of retentions. In my opinion, it should be somewhere around 5 to 6, and I think if it happens, then I think it will be a good sign for all the teams. But it can happen that we could get 3 to 4 retentions. It can happen that we could get more than 5 to 6 retentions. Who knows? So I think, yeah, let us know what do you think about this.
I think I'd go with 6 retentions if there were no right to match cards.
Yeah, same
Then
here.
I'm happy with the 6 retentions.
I would I
Um,
would like to have retentions based on some criteria. Like for example, they could possibly keep one retention only for maybe under 21 or under 23 players, so that somebody like a Jaiswal or somebody like a Riyan Parag or Abhishek Sharma, these guys are now capped. So there is no point in keeping capped and uncapped, because we used to have this rule before. I don't think it
yeah.
makes a lot of sense in current environment where most of the players are now getting capped quickly. So I think you could basically have something like a under 23 or under 21 scenario where you can retain those players for some reserved price or specific retention for that. So I think, yeah, it should happen at some point.
Well, on that note, I'm going to once again just remind you the score between the India women and the Sri Lanka women that's going on at the moment. It's at the 10 over mark. India 68 for 2. Shefali Verma gone for 16 of 19. Smriti Mandana still out there, 38 of 29 with 7 boundaries. Uma Chetri being dismissed for 9. And currently it's Smriti Mandana and Captain Harmanpreet Kaur in the middle, 68 for 2. So looks like at this stage, 140 kind of wicket. But time will tell, and we'll see how that game goes. It's the big final. Hopefully, India win that. There's another game. India's playing Sri Lanka in the second T20 tonight, so that's going on. The Major League Cricket finals coming up. The West Indies versus England Test is going on. It's all happening here. Cricket is busy, and we will be back with you next week, same time, same place on Cricket This Week. Thank you so much for watching, and please, as Sarvesh said, ask us your questions, give us your feedback, comment, tell us if Joe Root's going to break Sachin Tendulkar's record or not, and do tell us what your thoughts and ideas are on that IPL retention. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week. Until then, it's Rahul and Sarvesh saying goodbye. Thank you very much.